This is Len Marshall, your conservative independent, with part 2 of my current series of videos. It's now 3 weeks after the 2022 midterm election, and quite a number of things have taken place. Not taking into account that I have literally walked on JFK's shoes as a little boy, I have been involved with New Jersey and national politics for more than 30 years, and have witnessed more than 70 years of history. From being able to only watch 2 stations in Walter Cronkite, we have evolved today's 24-hour bombardment of unlimited, unconfirmed sources, which have made it almost impossible to truly understand and comprehend the world around us. Human beings have innate traits that haven't changed for millennia, and wishing that it wasn't a fact doesn't make it so. In politics, as in real life, those ingrained traits have always been driven by the need for land, money, power, and sex, in whichever order you choose. They all lead to small and large conflicts, unless there is a determined effort to curtail them. The idea of the United Nations was devised to do just that, and has mostly failed due to these innate traits, which overrule the need for civility and peace. The only thing saving mankind right now is the fact that a wider war anywhere on the globe would result in the total destruction of humanity, leaving our planet a desolate wasteland for thousands of years, if not forever. But back to the election. Here's my take on what has happened. People tend to vote for candidates that look and sound like themselves, unless there is an overwhelming reason not to do so. Candidates restyle themselves to look like in style, manner, and name the voters in their legislative areas. Historically, the largest voting blocs have been Italian, Irish, and German, all according to the areas involved. Of course, now in today's world, that is changing drastically. Don't believe me? How about the former mayor of New York City, Warren Wilhelm Jr.? Doesn't ring a bell? Well, how about Bill de Blasio? He changed his name prior to getting into politics, just like the movie stars who had their names changed, sometimes forcibly by the studios, so that they could be accepted and be popular with the public. Go back in time and we see families coming to America, changing their family names to avoid problems and to fit peaceably within their new country. Politicians live in a bubble of supporters, and they believe that just because the group likes and agrees with them, that the whole world is the same. They act like this is the way it is when it couldn't be further from the truth. Let's start with Donald Trump. He's a totally divisive personality. People either adore him or despise him. His crowds love him, and he feeds off their adoration in a never-ending cycle. Strike one, though. Unfortunately, they make up a small majority of the citizens, mostly belonging to the Republican Party, a party that, again, is not a majority in this country. Strike two. Independents have no allegiance to him and will vote for whom they ascertain as the best candidate, regardless of political affiliation. Strike three and you're out. Virtually all Democrats hate Trump and will not vote for any Republican or Trump-affiliated candidate. And that's what happened all over the country. If there weren't enough Republicans to outweigh the voters who would rather vote for a dead person, the Republican candidate lost. And as a matter of fact, in Pennsylvania, that just happened in one of the lower elections. In the main Senate race, Trump and the doesn't sound like me factor conspired to defeat Dr. Mehmet Oz. Trump energized the Democrats and independents to come out to vote against Oz, not understanding that there's always win, despite other factors. The race wasn't won or lost despite John Fetterman's anti-American, anti-society views, or even that he was mentally disabled during the election. Add that to the fact that Americans have a tradition of rooting and voting for the underdog, which is always a factor in an election. Dr. Oz was perceived to be an educated, rich, and popular entertainer, and a doctor with a foreign name. And again, this is a factor, whether we like it or not. In this election, like most elections, facts generally don't matter, especially so in today's world where facts are decided by how many views are received on a smartphone. Congratulations are in order for John Fetterman, who persevered and won under the most trying personal circumstances. Without Trump in the picture, the election result would have probably been much different, and the U.S. Senate would have changed hands. Maybe Dr. Oz should have changed his name to Bill de Blasio. Who knows? Well, at least the Republicans took control of the House while ceding Senate control to the Democrats. This should at least slow the pace of bad legislation coming from D.C. It does give us some time before the next election cycle to move forward on Article the First and to bring back control of our government to the people. It will result in a complete shakeup of our government, something that has been needed for many years. It will restore the vision of our founding fathers to what they hoped we would become. It will be as radical change as the 17th Amendment of 1913, which provided for the direct election of U.S. senators by the people of the several states. At that same time, Congress decided to set the maximum size of the House of Representatives at 435, and in 1929 fixed that number by law, but not by constitutional amendment. Up until that time, House membership grew and varied with the population, but was still way above the constitutionally mandated numbers. As of 1913, our population was above 97 million, and we had one representative for every 225,000 people. Still out of the ballpark. Today, with our population heading for 350 million, give or take a few million spilling over our borders, we have only one representative for 800,000 people, an intolerable dilution of representation that is found nowhere else in the free world. We must restore the voice of the people to be heard, shape and guide our government and our country. The House of Representatives has direct control over the Supreme Court and its operation. It has the power to rein in the executive branch. It also has the abusive power of delegating authority to unelected federal departments with no oversight. It also has the power to change its internal rules, as does the Senate, and is literally untouchable under sovereign immunity statutes, which they also authored and passed. The only way to change this is by enforcing Article the First, giving us back the constitutionally mandated one representative per 50,000 people. The government in D.C. is not going to willingly change and give up their power and control. Okay, here's my pitch. We need your support and money to continue the legal battles and legally spread the word and facts throughout our country. Buy the book, How Less is More, available on Amazon, which support our efforts. Then the hard part. Read it through and through. It's more than 500 pages. And then read it again. Understand it. Discuss it with people from both sides of the aisle, and support it, or not, as you see fit. Remember, both Article the First and the Equal Rights Amendment have been ratified by the states and by statute are the law. We must reassert our rights and insist that the Constitution and the law be followed. Thank you.